So if you're buying a bass boat, it usually comes down to what options you want, where it's going to break the budget, which ones you can get and you have to pass on. Or if you're comparing two boats, you're trying to decide one has maybe this, other one has that, which one would work out better for you. You know, I've owned over 20 bass boats and flat bottoms and stuff, everything in between in my fishing career. Plus, I've fished out of dozens of friends' boats. And these are the options. These are the things to me that really matter, and then the ones that really don't matter that much. So let's start off with the things that I don't think matter that much. And number one on this list, that's top speed. Everybody obsesses over it at the beginning, want to know how fast it goes, and then they'll spend a ton of money trying to get to the maximum top speed. And it matters the first week you have the boat. It's kind of cool how fast it can go. And you can get, performance props and change all this stuff trying to get just a couple miles per hour, and it costs a lot of extra money. And after you own the boat for a little bit, unless you're racing down the lake, maybe it matters. And if you guys, if you love speed, maybe this matters. But to most people when you're fishing, it doesn't that much. You're looking at trying to get your boat from 36 to 38, from 66 to 68, 72 to 74. It's not that much. You're going about the same speed, so don't obsess over that one. And here's another one that I think really doesn't matter as much as you think it would, and a lot of people spend a ton of money on this thinking they have to have it, and that's the size of your electronics and your graphs. Now, one thing, if you're a big live scope user, that size does matter. Going from a 10 to a 12-inch screen, a 12 to a 16, or going to one of the bigger ones, you can actually see more detail, and that's going to make a difference. And you're going to see little details. You're going to be able to catch more fish if that's the way, if you're going to live scope a lot. If not, like a 10 or 12-inch screen is going to suit you fine. If you're really hardcore, that's going to make a difference. It's worth upgrading. But for the rest of the graphs, for your maps and regular sonar and stuff, I've fished out of boats with smaller ones. I've kind of downsized more recently on my last boat, and you'll be surprised. It's a nice luxury to have. If you have bigger ones, you're going to appreciate them. But if you have a smaller one and you need to save, it's a huge savings. Going from a 10 to a 9-inch screen, a 12 to a 10, you're talking like $1,000 type difference on these. And I think you'll be surprised how much you'll get used to the smaller ones over time. So that's one where you can save money. And then the third one to me that you don't get any value, but I see people spend money, and maybe that's just me getting older, but specialty wheels and specialty rims on the trailer. You're just trying to get from point A to point B. Maybe it looks good when you get there, but here's the thing. Those specialty ones, it's more custom tires. In my experience, my buddies who have them, you're more likely to get a flat. And when you do, out in the middle of nowhere by the lake, and there's a country tire shop, they can fix a flat, but they don't have that tire you need versus the stock one, the regular one, they have those in stock. It's more universal. So that's a lot of money. You're not getting much benefit. To me, stick with the stock wheels and the stock tires. In the long run, you're going to appreciate it. Now, I'll get into three things that really do make a difference to me, but the one that's kind of in the middle ground is the length of the boat. And that kind of matters. It's great. The longer the boat you have, yes, it's going to ride better, especially on big rough waves, on long rides, and you get more storage. And you also have more room up there. If you have 3 people in the boat or something on the front deck, it's going to make a difference. If you're fishing by yourself or just with one guy and they're fishing off the back deck, not going to matter much. If you use like 7.5, 8-foot rods, you're going to appreciate that the rod tips aren't hanging over the end of the deck. So that's nice. But most of the time, in my experience, yeah, it's nice to have that bigger boat when you're making a long run and it's going to be smoother out in the rough part of the lake. But if you're not running around that much, or once you get there, you really don't care that much. An 18-foot boat, a 17-foot boat, a 16-foot boat, it's going to fish exactly the same as a 21 or 22-foot boat once you get there. So it's a nice luxury. It kind of matters. But here's 3 things that I think matter more. And number 1 to me on the list is power poles. Having those, if you fish shallow at all like me, that really makes a difference. And here's one thing about them that makes a big difference, going with the bigger size. They make the 10-foot ones versus the 8-foot. I mean, you can get the little small 6-foot ones, but it seems like I'm always fishing in about 5, 6, 7, 8 feet of water. That's where my boat's typically sitting, and I want to hit those power poles. And if it's an 8-foot pole, that means it can reach to 8 feet, but it's not going to be able to get down and hold. So once you get to 6 and 7 feet where the boat always seems to be, it's not going to hold that well. Versus the 10-foot ones seem like they always hold. So upgrading to the 10-foot size and having those when you dock your boat, when you're sight fishing, when you're trying to stop and retie, to me, the power poles, skipping those on the boat to get bigger screens or an extra foot on the boat, man, that's not negotiable. And then the other thing, this gets even more important to me, is the trolling motor, having enough power in your trolling motor. If it's a windy day, if you're going through weeds, if you're fishing into current or something, not having a strong enough one, that's going to drive you crazy. That matters so much. That's going to lead to a ton of frustration. And then also having the right shaft length on your trolling motor, that's really big. If you have a taller boat or you fish out in the main lake in rough water, a longer shaft is going to be able to stay in the water and keep you held in place. That's going to matter a ton. Versus if you get a really long shaft motor and you fish shallow a lot and you're trying to make casts underneath trees or underneath boat docks, you're going to have to raise up your motor really high. And then the head of the trolling motor, that too long of a shaft, every time you go to cast, it's going to be in the way. It's like Shaq standing there trying to block your shot. Drives me crazy. So get enough trolling motor, get one with enough power, and then get the right shaft length. That's going to matter a ton. And with all of these, your electronics and your trolling motor and your power poles and getting your motor to start, to me, the number one thing that matters more than anything is your batteries. People skimp there all the time, go with older batteries. They get smaller sized ones, just Mickey Mouse ones that just isn't enough. Nothing kills a trip, literally, more than a dead starting battery where you're stranded out in the middle of the lake because you were running your live well pumps or you've been running your graphs all day, or the trolling motor just goes dead and you can't fish anymore in a trolling motor, so you're stuck just being in one spot or drifting. That just kills your fishing trip. To me, that's number one. And there's no excuse these days. With lithium, and you get quality batteries like the MillerTechs, they have a 10-year warranty on them. So that's no questions asked, not prorated, 100% replaced at full value or fixed for 10 years. So get them right to begin with. You'll have plenty of battery power, and you can fish as long as you want until you're old like me, until your elbows and shoulders tell you it's time to go in.